Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Just Unsecure. As an introduction, we'll go through who we are, why we're doing this podcast, and what it's all about. And the first thing we're going to go through is who are we? We're an information security practitioner with well over 30 years of industry experience combined. Our practice cuts across technical and business-driven security management across different sectors and industries in Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. Yemi, would you want to add anything to that?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to always want to talk to my friend and my partner, always. So we've come from a background where we've worked together, and then we are here just to share knowledge, experience, and then being able to also grow the community of security professionals in Africa and beyond. So I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you, Yemi. Yemi and I, like he didn't say, we met back in 2011 at an interview. Yep. We both got into the same role, worked together for 4 years, and we've been friends ever since. So moving on to why now? Most people say, so why are we doing this? So maybe I'll ask you, why are we doing this? You start off, then I will conclude. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. That question is spot on. The question is, in Africa, though, we have a lot of things that are at play. And in the world, security has become a critical thing. And some of them in the world stage are not being discussed in Africa. We thought probably most of the threats, most of the security failures happen internationally. Yeah, they don't have a stay in Africa. And we've also think like it's an high time that we start to develop capacity in Africa as well, while we can borrow from some of us who've got experience internationally. We can also get from other guys abroad who also have those experience, and also go those who are in Africa as well, resident practitioners, teachers, and and executives, managers, and being able to share experience in them. As you know, security is a community thing. If one is secure and the rest are not secure, then the issue of the weakest link still happens. So we are here to get that together and to get people with like mind to come around and share their knowledge and experience as well. So welcome on board.
Thank you for that. Just to add cherry to what Yemi has said, again, it's knowledge sharing, ensuring that we all come together. Like Yemi has truly said, we have lots of talent people around the world in Africa, but we tend not to see the focus or the representation of how it affects infrastructure within the continent. So this moving to the purpose of this podcast is to ensure that we are able to bring together like-minded people like myself and Yemi to talk about information security, cyber security, regulations in other parts of the world that might affect the continent, or some things that we're doing in the continent that should be done in different parts of other parts within the continent. So Just Unsecure, like Yemi has said, is a focus on information, cybersecurity, with discussion on different related topics. Our aim, like he has truly said, is security professionals, managers, executives, enthusiasts, and for lack of a better word, knowledge sharing and advisory of everything information and cybersecurity. Yemi, anything you want to add to that?
Spartan, I think you got all.
Thank you. Thank you. So before we go ahead, we're going to talk about our personal views and how we've seen security in the space, because you would like to know more about each of us. And before you keep learning or hearing our voice for the next couple of months and years. So I think, Yemi, would you want to just give a brief about yourself? And then I'll do that. Then we can talk about, some lessons learned and some pitfalls.
Yeah, I have well over 14 years experience in IT and information security. A larger part of it being information security. Maybe I could say starting from 2010 thereabout. It's been a constant practice for me. And based on that, I've worked in different level of organization, both as technical and non-technical person in the enterprise. And also I've worked as a consultant as well, championing security, both at the vendor level and also on the enterprise level. So I bring with me some of the experience that I've seen in managing audit, preparing for audit, configuring from PCs to router to anything securely, and then being able to leverage on pre-sales and onto some level of consulting as well. So that's a brief me. I'm married with 2 kids, and I'm just chilling with Tunde here.
Thank you very much, Yemi. Yeah, like I said earlier in the discussion, myself and Yemi worked together, so proud to that. I've worked in different organizations in information security. I currently started my career in the United Kingdom. I worked in different organizations in the UK, came back to my motherland, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Worked as an information security analyst as well as a chief information security officer in Nigeria. Then moved over to Ghana, where I was a security architect and led the information security architect for one of the big mobile financial services in Ghana. Now I'm in Europe as well, working within the cloud security space. It's been a experience, within the information security sector. It's opened lots of, shall I say, opportunities, and what should I say? It's opened up lots of opportunities for me, and it's a never-ending story within the space of information security. Just like Yemi, I'm married, 2 kids, happily married, and we're all in Europe right now and enjoying our time while we're here. We never know where the next move is going to be, but as an information security, you move to grow, as they always say. And that's it from my personal overview between myself and Yemi. Now we go to something some people want to know. So what's the biggest lesson so far for you, Yemi?
Yeah. One of the biggest lessons, so to say, every day is lesson. You never stop learning. But the pure thing is, don't ever stop assessment. You can never trust someone says, yeah, I'm secure today. Yeah, I'm secure forever. Assess it again. Continuous improvement is the major thing. That's a big lesson for me. Sometimes you just do something and say, yeah, that is rock solid. But going forward, you might say that is not exactly what you believe. It's not rock solid. So keep improving, keep looking at it, even career-wise as well. You can't really stop. You can't say because of what you learned yesterday, you stop learning. But anybody can add to your knowledge. Even an intern can add to your knowledge. So be open-minded, continuous improvement. That is my biggest lesson.
Yep. I can't even say more than that. I think the biggest lessons from my own perspective is information security space is all about learning. It's all about, trying to better yourself, and it's a never ending game. So like Yemi truly said already, you have a scenario whereby you learn something today, and if you sit down and believe you've learned it all, tomorrow there's another technology, another process, another way of doing it. That's why hackers keep innovating, and we as security professionals need to innovate as well. So the hackers know that they're looking for a loophole. We're ensuring that we become so hard a target that they move on to the next. The whole point for us is that we make sure that we are either at par with the hackers in terms of knowledge of what they can do to our organization and our environment, or we are better to ensure that they know that they do not even look at our direction because we are that secure. So again, the biggest lesson is keep learning, keep improving yourself, and you are never too late to learn a new thing. That is my own biggest lesson. For pitfalls, I'll just take the pitfalls. For me, is again, it's more like the biggest lesson, but for the pitfalls, I think if you feel you know it all, then you'll be surprised about what's around the corner. So when I say that, I mean, like, once you believe you are in a comfortable zone, you can't be hacked, or you feel you can't do no wrong, that is when you are going to be vulnerable to the hackers, to malicious insiders. Different things come our way as security professionals. Sometimes we might be in a job for 4, 5, 8 years, and because we know things are done in a particular way, that is a step for social engineering, because they know that you already believe in a process that you think will never change, and that might be your weakest link. And a good thing I like to say in security, you are only as good as your weakest link. So always ensure that your weakest link is the strongest part of your organization. Hackers will only try to come into an organization that they feel they can get into the first, second, third, fourth layer easily. I don't know about you, Yemi. Any pitfalls you would like to mention to the viewers?
Yeah, the worst thing you can have for me in the industry is to assume assumptions. Yeah. Whereas security is more of evidence. So add evidence. So if anybody tells you, we should be secure, tell them, yeah, you are secure, but please show me. One of those things is we are very, very assumptuous many times, especially in IT, because nothing has broken, so don't fix it. Mm-hmm. But whether you like it or not, it's not about fixing, it's about understanding your risk. Even if you're not going to fix it, know that it exists. Obscurity, security by obscurity is not a big play. Don't do it. If anybody says, yes, trust me, it is good that way. Just tell them to show you. But in some cases as well, you might be careful about who you show your security apparatus. Sometimes it plays the other way around. So you must be able to have secure forward thinking, where even when people want to, there's no need to brag about your security. Bragging about your security on social media or to your friends or to the coworker is actually saying, oh, try me. Why you can say that to a penetration tester, that is good. You can say, yes, try me, because you are a penetration tester. You want to know your security status, but don't ever go brag on that anywhere. And don't allow your media guys to do the bragging as well. Yeah, we invested a lot in security. We are super secure. It's just like invite and say, yeah, guys, come and attack me. You'll be shocked that there's nothing like absolute security. You must know your risk. don't assume, and don't boast too much. Even if you are the head of security, you can absolutely say to the management, you're secure. Understand your risk, understand your weakness.
Spot on. Thank you, Yemi, for that. Next, since this is just the introduction to the podcast, like I said earlier, we'll touch on some major topics. Let's go to and just talk about some major topics that are happening within the industry. And the first is the Google and Apple privacy security issues that have been aligned or pointed out from this, should I call them the big tech companies, Apple and Google. Do you have any take on that?
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of that. On top of that, something happened yesterday as well. Stroke this morning. Facebook was hacked, and you have over 500 million user detail private data exposed. So if you have a Facebook account or your family have got a Facebook account, there's a high probability that probably be hacked. So you can go to haveibeenpawned.com and quickly check. Have I been pawned? Have I been hacked? So this is happening. It shows like that nothing, what I just said a few minutes ago, nothing is bulletproof. It's continuous improvement. Know your stake. So I know many of our viewers have probably, subscribers have probably heard in the last few weeks of SolarWinds hack as well.
It's a topic we're talking about. It's one of those topics we'll be talking about later on. So
absolutely.
For the iOS and Google Android, the main issue was they say they don't share information, but it's been found out that information is being shared. Now, the problem is, when does privacy no longer become privacy? Because my own point is, if I get an application and an application says, if you use this app, your information will not be shared. And I say, yes, okay. And later on down the line, I find out that the information, the statement that app or organization made to me was false. But indirectly, we all know, well, I would say as IT security guys, we kind of know, like, never say never. We don't believe what people say. Oh, you will never share your information. We know, security people know that once you say yes or no, they still have your information, because obviously if they were bad guys using the app for malicious intent, they will get them. I would say FBI, CIA will track them. So obviously they must. It's not accurate term to say they will never share your information. The one that is actually getting Google is the fact that they had their browser where you have what's it called?
Cookies and trackers.
Not the cookies and trackers. There's a particular keyboard where there's like an inspector. It's supposed to be like privacy. That means that whenever you're using it, nobody's tracking your whatever you're searching for. But it was even found out that even that particular one, they were actually tracking. So the one that you say that
do not
track, they are actually tracking. So it's, again, if it's happening in Europe and America, now imagine what you're doing within the African content, because who is the champion, or are there people championing the privacy requirements from an African's perspective? As there people, have you heard of any African country finding Google, for example? I haven't. Maybe they have, but again, I haven't. So it's a case of, if they're doing it in Europe and the Americas, imagine what you're doing in a country like Nigeria. Because we are the number one you know that we're the number one users of using the internet, for example, and number one browser is between the Microsoft and Google. So obviously data is being shared left, right, and center. But there should be, I know there are bodies like maybe NIDA and the rest of them within the Nigerian space that actually try and monitor these kind of regulations. But enforcement, and that's another thing I wanted to say to the listeners, is that we'll be having guests later on that actually are privacy specialists and other areas within security that will be able to educate us more about privacy security within different African countries. But Yemi, going back to the topic, how do you see what Google and the likes are doing, and what is the mitigation from both an organizational perspective as well as a user perspective? How would they be able to mitigate?
Yeah, that's a top job now, because whether you like it or not, your browser, especially now that everybody's working off-site, you can't really monitor where they go. But if we have to take it back to the organization, as a security professionals, you need to know what your executive, for instance, or key professionals who are assessing your system, how are they assessing those systems? Some of them have got plugins. You might want to strip that off. Even with beside Google and Apple, some of them have got several plugins. And whenever they need to assess your system, they're using the same kind of plugin to compromise your system. So what you might need to do for the key professionals that need to assess some sensitive information, you might strip off their plugins or create an hardened browser so that they can use that to come in. If your organization cannot afford what we called virtual desktops, if they cannot afford that, yeah, fine. But if now that everybody's working from home, you have to do that. And you have to do regular things, malware detectors. You need to move it up a little bit. Luckily enough, some of the antivirus have improved on the way they have signatures. Brilliant. On your executive, you might want to do something more. Some of it are cookie blockers.
Yep.
So, for example, there's a solution called uBlock Origin that you can actually do on both your Google Chrome and also on Firefox. It automatically block trackers and user DNSs and do some of those things. So that is decentralized. It's not something you can manage. But if you have a central solution from major providers, you can also employ that so that they can actually remove those cookie tracking and some of those right from there, especially target advertising. Whether you like it or not, your executive do not like when they go to a site and they could see all adverts, all things popping up. Themselves, they don't like it. So even if you do that and sell that to them, is a very good idea because they will love you for it. Automatically, it will strip off those things. So these are some of the things we'll be talking about. You can implement some things low level, especially user education. Most of what you have right now, you cannot even track it. So the question is, where are all your users at? Where are they going? Do you have visibility? Do you have analysis of that? Especially your key executives. Are you monitoring the dark web? Do you know how many of your own internal data have been exploited as well? So you are talking about Google, you are talking about Facebook, and think, yeah, those are those companies. But guess what? Your users, they have information there. And since they've got information, whether you like it or not, your information has ended in those forums. So you want to know that, and user awareness is key. So I've mentioned a few things that you might probably need to take care of. and be able to look at that quickly and say, I cannot really implement that without any user experience interruption.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Mine is again, user awareness, letting the users know that, try if possible, as much as possible, to segregate your working environment and your social media environment, because I notice so you'll be finding it quite well. Some people actually have their organization, email, everything on social media, and believe it or not, they use the same password. So if your password get compromised on social media, trust me, the next thing they're going to try and target, especially if they see emails that are not the Gmail or normal Yahoo Mail, they will try and hack your organization.
And it's even worse.
Yeah, exactly. That's what.
If they've used your organization email to create those accounts.
Exactly.
And use the same password.
And that's what we say, like, awareness. Some organizations should try and have, first of all, some people might not know. So yes, that's where the awareness comes in. And best practice, try and segregate. There's a fine line between your working environment and your social media environment. You don't drink while at work. So why should you think you can post whatever you're doing in social media and use company time or company data or company email, or you understand, assets? So that's just one of the take from this particular topic in terms of a hack proof kind of way, in terms of, like, I know that for the Google Pixel, if you don't want them to track you, it's a very tricky one, but if you don't want them to track you, whenever you start up your phone, you should disable the network connection. And before the user enables the network connection, you can disable any Google specific service such as Google Play, YouTube, before enabling network connection, so they are not able to track you. That's just a slight tip, but you could try. We stop because obviously you want to use the Google Play, you want to use the YouTube. So you see what I mean by, privacy might not necessarily mean your information is private, but we have to hold organizations themselves accountable for what they use our data for. So, and I think that's a good thing. In Europe, we have something known as the GDPR. We'll get a GDPR expert later on the show who can talk to us more about GDPR within Europe and if there's anything similar within the African space. So fingers crossed on getting, fingers crossed, we'll definitely get someone for sure. That's not a problem. The next area, which you touched on already, was the SolarWinds hack. And before you go there, the SolarWinds, Yemi will give us a brief of what really happened. But for me, this is where I think the next level of security attacks are going to come from. The supplier risk management must be looked into, because right now, hackers are being ingenious in the way they go about hacking organization. Like I said, you trust an organization to keep you safe, which means you take your eye off the ball from that organization. So if that organization gets hacked, you will not know because you assumed they're doing the right thing. So that is why I believe supplier chain security assessment is one of the most essential things within our space now. Because when I first heard about the SolarWinds, I actually clapped. I actually said, wow, that is smart. Because why disturb myself in trying to get into different organizations if I can get into one organization that everybody trusts? But the thing is, we as security professionals, first of all, you have to say, wow, ingenious. Then you have to step up and say, okay, how do we close this? How do we ensure this is the last time something malicious like this will ever occur. So Yemi, do you want to talk us through what the SolarWinds app was all about?
Yeah. This is very interesting and also saddening that an organization, whether you say a nation actor or an individual, can actually undertake such an act is a different thing entirely. Everybody in the enterprise have known that third-party security is a thing. But I can tell you, 80% of the organization never does third-party security. They thought we're secure. Yeah, fine. We're certified to PCI is fine. But what about your vendors? So first of all, what really happened? One of the key things that happened was being able to go into the software development or update development of SolarWinds. And then they modified some of the binaries, some of the DLLs. Mm-hmm. And because of our subscriber or listener, many of them, some that do not know what is called SolarWinds. What exactly is SolarWinds? SolarWinds is an organization that provides enterprise network monitoring, endpoint monitoring. But there's a particular solution called Orion. Orion is very good and is the best in the industry to monitor your network, to do more like router configuration, archiving, monitoring. So invariably, this specific solution, I've got what you call a level 15 or a root access or a window admin access to most of your network devices in the enterprise. And think of oil companies, think of government agencies, think of any top bank you know, they've got this solution. So the process where this was compromised was they inject something from SolarWinds itself so that when you're running your upgrade, now, this is where it became very saddening that if someone can compromise my update or upgrade process, that is where it went really bad. That means I wouldn't even know. It's just like I want to update Microsoft OS, and then someone injected something into Microsoft OS, and then I updated, and then based on that, backdoor was created. It is bad enough that a vendor can do that, but when an hacker does that, it's even worse. So the analysis is after you have upgraded, then they've made changes, then they go lateral movement, then they obtain the admin password or root password into the network and continue to monitor the network. And these are very smart hackers, as Tunde have said. Mm. They are not ready to destroy anything. They lie low on your network and use a series of DNS system to get outside. So, and guess what happened? An intern used a password called SolarWinds 123. So again, who have got access to your most critical system? So an intern was working, created an access into the process, and it got 123. There's no how you can know as an organization checking a DLL with over 500,000 lines and know that you are compromised. No way. It's hard to detect. But this is also what would mean trust no one in the enterprise as well. So recently, I've also heard that based on the SolarWinds hack as well, they did a solution to bypass and compromise Office 365 and key national security protectors email. This last week, guess what happened today? Wow. This became so bad. These same guys were targeting threat hunters. in the national security of US.
Yeah.
So they compromised their email and they were monitoring their email communication. Guess what? They were saying, if you are going to close this O, if you detect it, we must be able to exit on time because you will communicate with the email. We will know your steps. Therefore, we can modify the software. So they were waiting for even the threat hunters, guys that are going to detect that you have been compromised. So this shows the level of sophistication in that environment.
To be honest, like I said, when I had it, I knew the main business, and it's still going on. Luckily, I know SolarWinds released some patches already, and so people have been patching. I know organizations within the continent, Africa, that have SolarWinds within their space. But when you look at the threats, there's a threat vector of showing the maps of all the countries that have been affected. I didn't see any African country there
because we don't disclose it.
So, and that is one of the things, knowledge is sharing. That is why we should all, as security professionals, both within and outside the continent, talk about things that would affect our own critical infrastructure to help ourselves improve. So again, like I said, we're going to get some professionals that actually work within the government sectors in different parts of Africa, how we can collaborate to ensure that, whenever there's a security issue such as the SolarWinds hack, that, that steps are taken to ensure that it's mitigated appropriately. Even without the know-how, it could be discussed to let them know, okay, you need to patch. There are things that Orion would have, SolarWind would have released by now for you to be aware. And the new patches that are coming out, I think they have digital signatures to ensure that the patches are no longer compromised. So those are the little things we've noticed within the SolarWinds space. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. They did have a digital signature before, but the question is, your supply chain was compromised. But having learned that, how do you prevent that someone is riding on this solution in your enterprise? So quickly, what you can do, apart from the patch, which will remove the old patch, which is good, do that quickly. But also, I will encourage you that you should configure your environment in such a way that you don't have solutions that are key management solution talk to the internet. They should not be downloading patches directly. You should find another solution in front that can do patch management separately. Also, with that as well, you should look at a way in which those solutions are not communicating to the internet.
Exactly.
So use them behind. So even if they are compromised, they cannot talk to a command and control center.
Control center. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that is a rule of thumb. That is what you should design out. That is my advice.
And again, that would be the advice to the SolarWind from an organizational perspective. It's a very tricky one, should I say, because you tell organization patch, make sure you patch. Now, when a patch comes, you need to ensure you check that patch. That's the main objective. Ensure the patch is coming from the right organization. It has the right signature. You do your investigation on that patch before you apply that patch within your organization. I know we have few more minutes left, and is there any? Okay, let me see some vulnerabilities. Well, we'll be looking at different vulnerabilities that are coming out. I don't know if you have any vulnerability in particular you like to talk about for this week. I know Microsoft is patching the Microsoft Exchange server, the vulnerability, which are the Proxy Logon group. That was another major security flaw. I know Microsoft already started sending out patches for that. So, but I know like there's still many Exchange servers out there that have not been patched.
From 90,000, I think we are lucky. We are down to 29,000 now. So, and I bet a lot of 29,000 will probably be in the continent of Africa. I can absolutely say that because most of the organizations do not have a way to manage change. That is a big thing. We don't have a structured way we manage change when it comes to update, when it comes to patches, when it comes to upgrade. Some of the challenges that have happened during the week as well, including a little bit of OpenSSL. OpenSSL also can be crashed, especially those your web servers that are facing the internet. You need to find something to do to them as well.
I think for the proxy one, I think the only thing that was weird is that they are now script kiddies. There are scripts that are being created where you just plug play and people can now do the exploit without even learning to code what they need to do. That is one of the most dangerous things right now within that area. Again, Microsoft, they've got the money to ensure that, things are taken care of, and they've rolled out lots of patches. Again, like you've stated rightly, some organizations are better than others. Some might be able to change, some might not know what to change, and they rather be just silent rather than being out there. So some will say, look, they've not hacked us yet, let's just be quiet. And some will get hacked, will not say anything. Doesn't mean, and people should always remember, if you get hacked, it's better to talk about it and get it resolved, because if you try to resolve the issue in terms of you resolve the problem, but the thing is the hacker can still be within your network. So if you don't know your assets, if you don't know who the owner of the assets are, before you can even apply a patch, you must understand your business, your organization, what you're doing, what needs to be patched at what time. If you don't have your assets, that means you don't know what you're securing. So for every security professionals, the number one thing is know your assets within your space. If you know all the assets within your organization, you know what you need to secure, you know the loopholes you need to question. Also know the business owners for each asset, because if you go patch a system that brings down a money-making application and server, trust me, you will be in trouble. So it's not a case of you're a security expert. You have to make yourself clear to business owners, and you have to ensure you have the buy-in from business owners to ensure that you are taking security. They must see that you are taking the security of their business as a number one issue. So to bringing it back to this is that when you're patching, you patch knowing your assets, you patch knowing the business, but you must also patch and be sure that when you're patching, you are resolving everything, not just the problem, but the underlying issues, like how did they get remote access? How were they able to talk to the command
and control?
Command and control center. Those are the kind of things you need to look into. So that's just my own take. Know your assets, your business, and always try to resolve the overall issue and not just the patching of the system itself. So that's just for me. And okay, we have something from one of our guests, not our guest, a fan of ours. she said, let me read it out to you. So I know this is our first podcast, but I got this earlier this week, like I said, and I wanted you, Yemi, to kind of like, talk us what your own opinion is. What would you do if you received a document from a third-party vendor that you are to fill out in regards to your company's security process and tools? Upon opening the document, you realize that it is already filled out. With further inspection, you realize that it is another company's completed document. The other company is located in Scotland. And the person is asking, am I obliged to report this and to who? The person has the company's head of IT's name, emails, security tools, and processes. Basically, they have all the information about the other organization. What would you think, or what would you say the person should do?
Yeah, one idea in me, is say, yeah, run for cover, protect yourself, don't say anything. that would have been good. But the second thing is, what is the ethics as a security professional? Mm-hmm. You are not doing in fact, you're not doing any favor to that company by informing them. You're actually doing favor to yourself, because the same vendor that have shared that other company's information will probably share yours.
Yep.
So it's a good time for both everybody to be accountable. You need to communicate, since you already have the information, communicate securely. Identify such individual, communicate to them that, yes, guess what? Your information has been compromised. This is your information. That can help them to know how to secure their third party. Again, that goes back to third party security management. So look at that. An environment, they might be secure, everything might be bulletproof, but guess what? Who has compromised the organization? A third party. Yep. So in fact, I'll be weary in taking that third party on. I will probably do a security assessment on that third party. I'll pay them to show me how they do document management, how they do privacy control before I engage further, because that is a bad sign from a trusted vendor sharing all these tools that I have with a third party. It's just like saying, yeah, are you looking for information? Guess what? I have it. Mm-hmm. And most likely, such an organization have signed an NDA with you, but yet that doesn't stop. So NDA is just a paper. You must have, and on your own end, you must have document control. You must have protection on your document. In such a case, if you share with a party, if they have to share with a third party, the third party might not be able to access that document. You might want to put that in place, especially when it has to do with confidential information that you have to share with a vendor. So inform, also protect yourself, because the same thing can happen to you.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I told my colleague. I told her like two things already. Like, as a security professional, you would have to actually inform the other organization and actually question the third party. I question them, why would you share this with me? First of all, if you share it, I'm 100% sure for you to even open it means it wasn't passworded. It means it was in the plane, and means you have no sense of obligation that you have to keep your customers' details secure. And she says, okay, my manager still wants me to send it. I said, well, if your manager still wants you to send it, as a security professional, you let your manager know the risk, that this is what the organization has done. Get it documented by email, obviously, and ensure that when you're sending it, it's encrypted, is passworded, and let the organization, the third party that you're sending in, that if your information gets outside, it will be taken to the legal department. Again, not everyone is security conscious, but again, you have to ensure we educate everyone to be able to make sure they are aware of the security requirements needed when they're dealing with confidential and sensitive information. So that was that was the update for me and Yemi. Anything else you want to talk about in this episode, Yemi?
Yeah, I think we've talked about a lot of things. I would like to hear from some of our subscribers and listeners about some of the things they would like to talk about. Because you and I, we've come from a background, we can just go on and on until the daybreak. This is it, this is what we have. But definitely, some people are having burning questions, like the question we just answered. It could be as simple as that, or it could be something that we might need to actually deep dive on and create something. And so we are open. First of all, we want to be able to form a community. We want to do knowledge sharing. We want to build a community, a secure community. And this is what we think can become something we can build on. So I'm happy to actually hear from some of our subscribers.
Thank you, Yemi. And like Yemi has really said already, we'll look forward to hearing from you. We'll be getting our YouTube channel, LinkedIn page, Twitter handle, and you will see it at the end of this video. You could link us, email us, talk to us, and we will respond. And if you have any questions, we will, definitely be happy to talk about it in the next episode, or chat to you one-on-one, whichever one you feel comfortable with. Thank you very much, everyone. And again, this is our first episode. Let us know the do's and don'ts, what you like, what you don't like, and we'll go on from there. Thank you all very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.